You've probably heard people calling Teslas the safest cars on the road. Maybe you even own one and feel confident you're driving a car built to protect you. But what if I told you Teslas are actually the most dangerous car on the road? Statistically, Teslas have a fatal crash rate nearly double the national average, killing more people than other leading car brands. So how is that possible? And why does the company leading innovation lag so far behind in safety? To answer that, we need to go back to where it all started. Most people think electric cars are a brand new idea, but they've actually been around for some time. Back in the early 1900s, about 4 out of every 10 cars on the road was an electric car. These cars were quiet, clean, and easy to drive. You just turned a key and off you went. But in the 1920s, gas-powered cars started to take over. And the reason for this was simple: cost. Traditional engines were becoming cheaper and easier to build thanks to Henry Ford's assembly line. And once gas cars got an electric starter, they were just as easy to use. No more hand cranking to get started. So by 1930, electric cars had pretty much disappeared. And for most of the 20th century, that's where the story stayed. But in 2003, it quietly picked back up again. That year, 2 engineers, Martin Erbhard and Mark Tarpenning, founded a new kind of car company. They weren't trying to compete with Toyota or Ford, at least not at first. What they wanted was to reintroduce electric vehicles, but this time with performance and style. Instead of a boring commuter car, they set out to build a sleek, all-electric sports car that could go toe-to-toe with a gas-powered Porsche. That idea became Tesla. And not long after, Elon Musk stepped in as the company's main investor. But he didn't just bring funding, he brought scale. Where the original founders saw a sports car, Musk saw a starting point. He wanted Tesla to become a global automaker, one that could push the entire industry toward an electric future. That push began with the Tesla Roadster. From the outside, it looked like a breakthrough, fast and futuristic. But behind the scenes, things weren't going so smoothly. The battery packs ran hot, and parts wore out quickly. Worst of all, the company was burning through money at a dangerous pace. By 2008, Tesla was just weeks away from shutting down completely. The company didn't just need funding, it needed a breakthrough. And that's exactly what came next. By 2012, Tesla introduced the Model S. Unlike anything else on the market, it blended speed and sophistication into one polished package. And it wasn't just the car that got people's attention. It was the way the company operated. Instead of following the slow, traditional path of cautious rollouts and years of validation, Tesla moved like a Silicon Valley startup. Software updates weren't limited to factory resets. They were sent straight to the car, fixing bugs and adding features overnight. And new capabilities like Autopilot weren't held back until they were finalized. They were rolled out in real time while people were already driving the cars. That break from convention helped Tesla grow quickly, but it also sparked serious concerns. And by 2024, these concerns were showing up in the numbers. A national study found Tesla had the highest fatal crash rate of any major car brand, almost twice the US national average. And the Model Y, their bestseller, recorded over 10 deadly crashes per billion miles driven. To understand how a company built around innovation ended up leading in fatal crash rates, we need to start with the design of the car itself. Right at the heart of Tesla's lineup is its lithium-ion battery, a sophisticated powerhouse designed to store enormous amounts of energy. This battery powers the car's electric motors, giving the car its exceptional acceleration. However, its layout and function also introduce risks. Lithium-ion batteries contain volatile materials that can become unstable, especially under high temperatures, and particularly after a collision. If a battery cell is punctured or overheats, it may trigger a phenomenon known as thermal runaway. This creates a chain reaction that quickly spreads heat through the battery pack, resulting in fires that burn extremely hot and are notoriously difficult to extinguish. And this isn't just a theoretical problem. Tesla have faced scrutiny following several high-profile incidents. In 2019, a Model S caught fire after a collision in South Florida. What made that situation so much worse was that first responders struggled to manage the flames, reporting that the fire reignited multiple times, even after it appeared to be under control. Lithium-ion batteries require more water than conventional fires to extinguish, sometimes thousands of gallons, and they produce toxic flames when burning. When a fire starts, the danger doesn't just end with the flames, because Tesla's all-electric design means even basic safety features may fail when they're needed most. Tesla's sleek, futuristic design doesn't just change how the car looks, it changes how the whole car works. Instead of relying on mechanical parts, Teslas use electronic systems for nearly everything, operating the doors, steering, braking, and even basic controls inside the cabin. This gives the car a clean and modern feel, but it also creates serious risks when something goes wrong. One of the most tragic examples happened in 2019. A Florida doctor named Omar Awan was driving his Tesla Model S when he lost control and crashed into a tree. The car quickly caught fire. When police and bystanders arrived, they tried to pull him out, but the doors wouldn't open. The car had lost power in the crash, and the door handles, flush against the body and controlled by electricity, never popped out. There was no mechanical backup. Awan was still alive after the impact, but died from smoke inhalation before anyone could reach him. After the crash, Awan's family filed a wrongful death suit against Tesla. They argued that the design of the Model S was dangerously flawed, that the retractable door handles, combined with the risk of fire, made the vehicle unsafe. Tesla denied the claims, saying the car met industry safety standards and pointing to possible speeding and driver impairment as factors. But as of mid-2025, the case is still active in Florida court, and Tesla has not issued a recall for the door handle system. That crash isn't just a one-time tragedy. It shows what can happen when a car depends entirely on electronics, with no simple mechanical fallback. And it's not just the outside of the car where this shows up. Inside the cabin, Tesla takes the same high-tech approach. Instead of using regular buttons or switches, almost everything in a Tesla runs through one big touchscreen in the center of the dashboard. And that includes things you'd just normally adjust without thinking, like air conditioning, even the glove box. But while this setup gives the cabin its clean look, it also means drivers have to look down and tap through menus just to do the simplest things. And that comes at a cost. A study by the Norwegian Council for Road Safety found that entering an address into a touchscreen system took drivers an average of 15.7 seconds. That's long enough to travel the length of 4 football fields without looking up. And even smaller tasks like changing the temperature often took 3 to 10 seconds each. So in the time it takes to swipe or tap through a few settings, the car could have already gone the length of a city block. Yet these are things most drivers expect to adjust without breaking their focus. And that's the problem. When basic controls are buried behind a screen, even small distractions turn into big, deadly risks. We actually get into discussions like this all the time on our Discord, breaking down how cars, planes, and buildings are actually designed to keep us safe, and what happens when those designs fall short. If you're the kind of person who loves seeing how engineering really works behind the scenes, come join us. The link is in the description. And perhaps nowhere is a design problem more obvious than with Tesla's self-driving feature. On May 5th, 2021, Stephen Hendrickson was driving to work in his Tesla Model 3 with Autopilot turned on. Around 2:30 a.m., an overturned semi-truck appeared ahead of him on the highway. Moments later, Stephen's car slammed into it at full speed. He didn't survive and left behind a wife and 2 children. His crash is just one of more than 1,000 serious incidents involving Teslas in autopilot mode that the company has reported to federal regulators. But most of those details are kept hidden. To uncover what's really happening, the Wall Street Journal pieced together reports from across the country and matched them to Tesla's internal crash data. Out of the 222 cases they could confirm, they found that 44 occurred when a Tesla veered unexpectedly, and 31 happened when the car failed to stop for something directly in front of it, just like in Stephen's case. So what's going on? Experts point to a core flaw. Tesla relies almost entirely on cameras to see the road, while other car makers use a mix of radar, LiDAR, and cameras for better reliability. If Tesla's cameras haven't been trained to recognize a specific shape, like a sideways trailer, they may not react at all. And when these failures happen, the critical decision-making data is stored deep inside the car's computer, often out of reach for investigators or even the families involved. But the issue isn't just the technology, it's something else too. Tesla has long promoted autopilot and full self-driving as safer than human drivers. Elon Musk has even claimed that technology will eventually reduce crashes by a factor of 10. But that messaging, it creates a dangerous gap between what the system is called and what the system can actually do. A 2024 study by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and MIT found that new Tesla drivers quickly become distracted when the autopilot is engaged. They were more likely to check their phones, eat, and even sleep. In 1 month, 14 drivers triggered nearly 4,000 attention warnings, and dozens of times they didn't respond at all. So while Tesla promises a safer, smarter way to drive, the real-world data paints a more complicated picture. And that's not the only claim worth questioning, because when it comes to sustainability, the story isn't so simple either. When people hear the name Tesla, they often think of sustainability. After all, electric cars seem like a clean and modern way to fight climate change. No gas, no tailpipe emissions, just plug in and drive. But there's more to the story. To really understand the impact of Teslas on the environment, we have to look inside the car at the battery. Tesla uses large lithium-ion batteries to power their vehicles. And building one of those batteries takes a lot of raw materials, like lithium, nickel, and cobalt. To get enough for a single battery, miners have to dig up around 500,000 pounds of rock and earth. This usually happens in countries with weak environmental laws, which means the land can be left polluted or damaged. In some places, especially where cobalt is found, there have even been reports of child labor being used in the mining process. In fact, Tesla's own report in 2022 said that it still depends heavily on these mined materials to make its batteries. Even making the car creates a big impact. A study by Volkswagen showed that building an electric car, especially the battery, creates so much pollution that it can take up to 100,000 miles of driving before it becomes cleaner than a regular gas car. That means in the early years of driving, an EV might actually pollute more than a gas car. So if electric cars aren't a perfect fix, what is the real path to sustainability? Well, true sustainability goes deeper than what powers a car. It begins with how we design our cities. This is where Europe stands out. Many European cities focus on public transportation, bike lanes, and neighborhoods where people can walk to schools, stores, and parks. People can live full, connected lives without needing to drive everywhere. Because of this, countries in Europe have much lower transportation emissions than the United States, sometimes even less than half. This isn't about being anti-car. It's about the cost of shaping everything around the car. More roads and parking lots means more pollution, more energy use, and more land lost. Even electric cars still take up space, burn energy, and require tons of raw materials. So if we're serious about sustainability, the solution isn't just cleaner cars, it's fewer cars. And that means rethinking how we move and how we build. But cars are just one piece of the puzzle. If you want to see what real transportation safety looks like, you should see what Europe's doing with trucks. It's not what you'd expect, and it might just explain why America keeps falling behind. Click here to find out.